Boa tarde. Vamos dar, vamos dar continuidade ao nosso primeiro simpósio internacional de comunicação social áptica, tecnologia assistiva e inclusão, com mais uma mesa redonda. Eu sou Thaís Bigatti, sou uma mulher branca de cabelos cacheados, na cor castanho com mechas loiras, visto blusa e blazer pretos. Estamos em tela sendo acompanhados pela intérprete de Libras, Stephanie Vasconcelos. Stephanie é uma mulher jovem, branca, está com um cabelo amarrado, óculos com armação vermelha e uma blusa preta. Fundo na cor branca. Lembramos que vocês podem enviar as suas perguntas pelo nosso chat no YouTube. Convidamos agora a professora doutora Beatriz Critelli para mediar os trabalhos relacionados a essa atividade.
Background at the whiteboard. I'd like to welcome you all to our first symposium. Our roundtable will now be made up of deafblind individuals talking about their perceptions and their impressions, their actions as deafblind individuals. Three people are invited here. The first is Janini Pires, who has a background in pedagogy from the Federal University of Bahia. Member of Facility Society, deafblind, Abraspis, of this particular Abraski. Second invited guest is also deafblind woman, Shirley Primo Araújo. She's an artist and also a dancer. And finally, Russ Palmer, our third guest, a therapist, open on the use of haptic. Now we'll invite our first guest, Janine.
Olá, boa tarde.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you?
Meu nome
My name
é
is Janine,
e este é o meu sinal.
and this is my sign
Eu
name.
sou uma pessoa surdo-cega.
I am a deafblind
Eu
individual
estou usando uma camiseta rosa,
with a pink
uma
shirt,
calça branca
white pants,
e sapato preto.
and black
Meu
shoes.
cabelo é comprido,
I have long hair,
e minha pele
brown
é
hair,
branca. Meus
and
olhos também são
with skin,
castanhos, estou usando um
brown
brinco
eyes.
e colares.
I'm wearing a necklace and earrings.
Eu lembro,
I remember
eu lembro no passado,
a long
quando eu
time
era
ago,
pequenininha,
when I was a kid,
mais ou menos com a idade de 4 anos,
more or
eu
less
ficava
4
muito
years,
nervosa, eu machucava as
I was kind
pessoas,
of
eu mordia.
angry, nervous. I bit people.
Isso a minha mãe me conta, né? Eu não sei
It's
se
my
minha mãe me
mom told
conta
me
essas coisas. Eu
one
não
time.
falava
I
nada.
remember.
Então, com o tempo, eu fui ficando mais calma.
Became more and more calm.
A minha família,
My family
ela se
moved from one city,
da Bahia,
from Bahia.
e a minha mãe ela foi procurar uma
My mother
escola
went to look for a school
Crispo,
called Crispo.
que tinha pessoas que oralizavam, que falavam.
Had people who were
E eu
oralized,
comecei a aprender
lip reading, and I began to learn
algumas coisas usando o tato. Eu comecei a
something
trabalhar com o
without
tato, eu
some.
comecei a caminhar
I started to
e
walk.
rapidamente eu fui me acalmando.
I
Depois,
was
eu me
cool. I
mudei
was part of the
novamente.
studio. But then I moved again.
Eu fui para a cidade de Guaianazes,
I went to the small city of Guaianazes,
Guanambi. Esse é o local
Guanambi.
da cidade de Guanambi.
It's my name,
E a minha
toponym.
mãe, ela
And my
começou a
mother
procurar uma
began
outra escola
to look for another school for me,
própria de surdos. O nome
specifically for the deaf.
Idalice é o nome dessa escola,
Was the
que é
name of this
própria
school,
para surdos, né? E a minha
specifically
mãe,
for the
ela
deaf.
começou a
My
aprender
mother
a
also
língua de sinais.
began to learn sign language.
Depois ela foi me ensinando a língua de
Afterward,
sinais. E eu
he was the one who
também
taught me sign
comecei
language.
a aprender alguns sinais.
I began to learn
Eu
some signs on my
aprendi
own.
o sinal de água, né? Então
I
nós
learned the
podemos
sign
dizer o
for
sinal de
water,
água e fui aprendendo outros sinais.
and then others,
Árvore e outros
tree,
tantos.
many other
E eu
basic
fui
signs.
gostando muito de aprender os sinais.
I really enjoyed
Junto com
learning
os
signs
surdos. Eu fui me
together with the other deaf
identificando com
kids
os surdos e
and
a
began
minha
to identify
família
myself as
se
a
mudou
deaf kid.
novamente
But then my family moved again
para uma cidade
to another small
do
city
interior da Bahia chamada Barreiras.
called
A
Barreiras.
minha mãe, ela foi se
Now,
fortalecendo
my
e
mom
procurou novamente uma escola
had to keep in this
de
struggle. She found a good
acupuntura
school,
e foi conversando com algumas pessoas
municipal
e
school,
encontrou
and
então
talked to people
uma escola.
and found
O nome da escola é Paqui.
a school called
E esse é o sinal
Paqui
dessa escola.
with this particular sign
Então a minha
name.
mãe ela começou
And my
a
mom
ficar junto de manhã no AEE, né? Então eu tinha de
stayed with
manhã
me at school
o ensino do
in the morning,
AEE para pessoas cegas e eu fui aprendendo braille.
in school for the
À
blind. And there I
tarde,
learned
a
Braille.
minha mãe,
On the
ela
afternoon,
começou a ensinar os alunos surdos
my
dentro de uma
mom
sala de aula normal
actually
a língua de sinais.
hearing kids sign language.
Depois a minha mãe foi me ensinando também. E eu
And
fui
she also did
aprendendo braille,
me, and I was
escrevendo
learning
na
Braille
máquina
at the
braille
same
também
time, using a
e fui
Braille
aprendendo
typewriter.
diversas coisas.
And I was learning a
Com o
lot.
passar do tempo, eu fui gostando muito.
I really enjoyed it.
Os surdos, né? Eu tinha amigos surdos, amigos
Deaf kids, I had a
cegos,
lot of deaf
sempre junto
friends, I had
comigo.
blind friends,
E eu
all together.
gostava muito. As
And I really
informações da
liked
escola
all the
aqui,
information that the
elas foram
school
se
taught me.
fortalecendo
We
e
all
eu
grew
gosto
together,
muito de
learned a
cavalgar,
lot.
né? Então,
And
nessa
I really
escola
enjoyed being
tinha,
with them.
eu também podia
And
cavalgar, tinha
I could
equitação.
even actually ride
E junto
horses
com
while I was
algumas
there.
pessoas dentro da escola,
And as part of the
eu fui
school,
aprendendo braille.
I learned Braille.
Também eu gostei muito disso.
I really enjoyed this whole process.
Depois eu me mudei.
But I moved again.
Eu fiz o magistério numa
I did the next
escola,
level
né?
of school,
No SEAD. Eu fiquei muito feliz por ter feito o magistério.
doing teacher training.
Eu não tinha guia intérprete.
But I didn't
Foi
have
muito
an
difícil.
interpretive
Tinha
guide.
algumas
Quite
disciplinas que eu
difficult,
tinha muita
actually.
dificuldade.
A lot of
E a
the
minha mãe
courses
foi
were very
tentando, foi
challenging.
batalhando com os professores
Mom
e
would
algumas
actually
disciplinas
fight on
eu
my behalf
precisava aprender
because some of the
com mais
courses
facilidade.
I
Com o
needed
passar do
additional help.
tempo,
Now, as time passed
então
on,
primeiro, segundo, terceiro
first,
e
second, third,
quarto ano,
fourth
eu
year
acabei o
of training,
magistério
I finished up
em 2004.
actually in 2004.
Eu fiz 3 vezes o Enem
and I took the entrance
foi
exam
muito difícil.
3 times
Eu
to
fiz a
try to
prova
get into the
oral, eram
exam.
muitas folhas,
I
né?
did it
Mas eu não
actually
passei.
in Braille, many
Aí
pages, many
depois, em
pages.
2015,
Finally,
eu
in
fiz
2015,
novamente
I took
o
the entrance
vestibular.
exam again.
A minha mãe, ela conseguiu algumas tecnologias, né?
My mom helped me with
E
some
eu
certain
consegui passar
technology,
na
and I
UNB,
passed.
na
Got
UNEB.
into the University
Eu
of
fiquei muito feliz porque eu
in
passei no
Bahia,
vestibular da
State
UNEB. Eu
University
chorei
of Bahia.
muito,
I'm
eu
so
fiquei muito
happy.
feliz.
I cried with joy.
Porque isso abriu
This
algumas
opened up
portas, né? E eu fiz
many
o
doors
curso
for
de
me.
pedagogia.
And I studied
Tinha
pedagogy.
dois guias intérpretes
There were
e
two
um
other
jornalista
guides
dentro da
and
minha sala de aula.
well, for me.
Então eu consegui o
So
respeito
helped a
e a
lot.
minha família foi começando a estudar junto algumas
Family
disciplinas também.
came with me to
Eu
study.
tinha o AEE junto com os professores, eles sentavam, né, e discutiam algumas coisas.
We sat
E
together
junto com os meus guias intérpretes,
with my interpreters,
eu, Janine, né, junto com os meus guias intérpretes
meet together with
e
my
outros
interpreters
alunos,
and other
fomos
students.
ensinando e aprendendo, e a língua de sinais foi sendo passada para todo mundo da minha sala.
We
A
all
questão
had
da
this opportunity
contratação
of
dos guias
learning sign
intérpretes
language.
era muito difícil.
Now, it was
Então,
very difficult to find
várias
guides.
vezes teve que parar e tivemos que ir até
Many
a
times,
reitoria
I
porque
had
não
to
queriam fazer a
go to the
contratação.
rector's office and
E para
complain,
mim isso era muito
demand
frustrante porque
the
não
need for
tinha a contratação
accessibility.
do guia intérprete e eu
You
tinha
know,
que
the
parar os meus
university
estudos.
didn't hire enough guides, enough interpreters, and I had to stop my
Então
studies.
eu tive que parar um pouco, né, até conseguir
Lost my studies
que o
until there
contrato
were
fosse, né,
until there were enough
feito, renovado
contracts
e os guias
renewed
pudessem
at the university
continuar. Aí eu consegui
for the
três guias
interpreters to come back.
intérpretes e
And I
o
had
André
3
Christian.
interpreters
Eu
finally,
tinha também o
Braille
AE
experts,
e uma sala, né, uma mesa específica com
and a
impressora
special desk
braille,
where I
internet.
could write in Braille,
Eu tinha
internet,
várias adaptações necessárias para que eu
many
pudesse dar
adaptations,
conta.
technological adaptations, so that I could
Para que no
study.
futuro outras pessoas com deficiência
And
também
also other
pudessem
people
entrar,
after me who have the same kind of research,
tivessem a mesma oportunidade e entrassem
so
na
that other
mesma
people
área,
have the
na
same
mesma
opportunity.
faculdade. Foram
They'd have the
passando os
infrastructure.
semestres até que
Now,
eu
as
me
time went on,
formei na faculdade
I finally
e
graduated,
agora
and now
eu me formei como professora, então, né?
I'm a
Por
professor,
quê?
I'm a teacher.
Eu queria trabalhar, mas eu ainda não estou trabalhando.
Now, at the
Eu
moment, I'm
ainda
not
não
working.
consegui um trabalho na minha área.
I haven't found a job in the area
Eu
that I
preciso
wish.
esperar no futuro
I'm waiting for the right
um
moment,
concurso,
the
eu
right
espero
opportunity,
concurso público, que eu
and
possa ser professora de braille. E
public
agora a Janine
job
fez
to
o
be
quê? O que
a
que eu
Braille
fiz?
teacher.
Eu estudei
Meantime, I
e
wanted to tell
passei
you
no mestrado.
that I've actually been studying for a master's, and I'm going to
Eu
enter in a master's.
estudei bastante, né? Mas eu recebi a
I had
resposta
to wait.
de que eu
Finally, I
passei.
got an
Eu
answer that
apresentei todo o meu trabalho
send in
junto com os
all my previous
professores,
work
né,
and
da banca,
documentation.
e eles me responderam que eu
And
passei.
somebody
E eu
said I
estou
actually
muito feliz.
passed,
Eu
and I'm
estou muito
very, very
feliz
happy.
porque eu passei no
Very happy
mestrado,
that I'm doing a master's.
certo? E isso está abrindo
This is,
uma
again,
nova
opening
possibilidade.
many opportunities for me.
Então, em março eu começo,
In March,
né, a faculdade. No ano
I'm going to
passado eu defendi o
start.
meu TCC
Last
junto
year,
com os
I did
professores.
my monograph,
O
undergraduate
assunto era
monograph,
alfabetização e
and
letramento
it was about specifically literacy
da
in,
pessoa com surdo-cegueira.
you know, with
Eu
deafblind individuals.
trabalhei, né, então, a alfabetização da pessoa com surdo-cegueira. Eu tenho vontade e a gente sabe que precisa de muitas pesquisas futuras
So
nesse assunto.
I do want to research about deafblind people along with my advisor and my family, also with the teachers of literacy of deafblind people,
Então,
right? I want to study that
eu fiz um
further.
artigo do meu
I
TCC
wrote a
junto com a
paper
minha professora
of my
e eu escolhi um guia intérprete.
conclusion course, and I chose one guide
Junto com o guia intérprete,
interpreter.
eu escolhi os artigos que eu
Alongside
ia
with
fazer
this
no
guide
guia.
interpreter, I
Mas aí ele
chose
ajudou
all
o
the
guia
papers
intérprete, ele passou
that
no
I was going
mestrado
to
e
read.
era muito difícil. Por
Then
isso
the
eu
guide
produzi para
interpreter
eles um glossário
transcribed it to Braille, and I did like a glossary of the hardest words. My guide interpreters did the reading of the text. Afterwards, they did like a summary, and then I showed it to my teachers, Professor Carla and Professor Deborah. I I showed them, and then I explained that we have all this process to Portuguese, Braille, and sign language that happened for several months. But my graduation in teaching is thinking about the literacy of deaf blind people, thinking about the last 15 years. So my job as uh, a teacher for kids, is thinking about literacy for deaf blind people. I think it's the first research in this area here in Brazil, produced by a deaf blind person, having the deaf blind person as a protagonist of this process. We did a paper. I researched a lot of papers and books that uh, the main goal is to speak about the deaf blindness, because I think it's very important to talk about the deaf persons, deaf people, the blind people, the deaf blind people. There are several works and papers about those publics differently, but not the deaf blind person, and how to use the literacy alongside with this teaching process. So, me as a teacher for kids and a deaf-blind person, looking back to those 15 years of trajectory and also the researches I used as methodology, the qualitative research and the bibliographic revision, I found a lot of works that talk about literacy in deaf-blind people, and that's what I researched. Well, because of the time, I want to thank you all for all your attention. And I also want to say that I'm very happy that I was approved in the masters. I'm very, very happy. Thank you. Just a moment, please. So I want to thank Janini. We know it's a very important subject for us. Now we have a very special guest, which is Shirley Caetano. Shirley, please, you can make your speech now.
Pode começar. Boa tarde a todos e a todas.
Assim, retinho.
Boa tarde a todos.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shirley Caetano. I'm deaf blind. I have Usher syndrome. Before starting my speech, I want to describe myself. I'm a person with white skin, with a brown hair. I have 62 kilograms of weight, 1 meter 77. I'm sorry, 1 meter and 57 height. I have 70 years old. My story starts in the interior of the Paraná state. I was born in Londrina. I had 7 years old. And then I realized that I didn't have a lot of rights. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear properly. And also, this my smell had a little bit problems. My parents didn't take me to doctors. They usually take me to pharmacists only. And when my parents decided to move to São Paulo when I had 17 years old, then I decided to go back to study because I had to abandon my studies before. And I went to the hospital to see what happened, why I wasn't able to hear properly and to smell properly. Then I had to find a job because my family couldn't have, my family didn't have enough money to support all of us. And at that time, didn't have accessibility for people with disabilities. But I didn't give up. I kept on going. And then I started to sell beauty products, and I learned how to make myself my own makeup. And the makeup I'm wearing now, I put it myself. Then I found some teachers, Professor Felipe, Professor Mara. Then I learned how to use a cane to walk on the street because I started to go blind. And since I wasn't able to find a formal job, my sister bought a newsstand and I started to help my father. And then I met my husband because he used to work next to the newsstand. And I got married, had a kid, and I kept working in myself. I used to cook, and even though I didn't have any sense of smell, I was taking care to not burn the food and anything. Well, my husband didn't have a lot of study, so our situation wasn't very good. Then we had to return to our families. I went to live with my mom, and he went to live with his mom, and I found trying to find other associations, institutions to try to get a job or do something. Then I started to learn how to uh, use the computer and how to make some things. I had I made a workshop in bakery. I made some biscuits to sell, and I'm a very good seller too, salesperson. I learned how to dance here in Ahimsa. I also love to dance. And after I did all these things, I wanted to go back with my husband because we had to split because of the financial situation. So I did everything to go back with my husband, and I was fighting to get that. So what happened? I I realized that my sight was almost fading. So I started to do other things. I tried to go to other associations, institutions here like Padre Chico, and tried to return study because I started to study, then I stopped. The middle school in Paraná I stopped. The high school, I also stopped. Then I joined the dance lessons. I met Professor Rosana that taught me the belly dance. And I started doing the belly dance. I started to make clay sculptures. Now I'm an artisan. I kept working in the bakery part. I know how to do all kinds of biscuits. And I also trying to understand why people were so different. So I started to make some spiritual studies to understand why a lot of things was happening in the world. After that, I was able to return with my husband. He, I never stopped selling beauty products, and I also was able to retire. And during the time I was doing the confinement at the hospital, I won my first hearing aid, and I was changing my hearing aid to improve my hearing. And that's how I'm going. I'm a very agitated person. I'm not able to stay still. I really like to do anything, and I kept making performances and the dance, the belly dance, and kept doing my artisanship. And after that, I was able to return with my husband. But since my husband had a disease called epilepsy and he wasn't able to take care of himself many times, and my kids started to work, I wasn't. Sometimes my husband had an epileptic attack and I wasn't able to help him. It was very hard. So I had to ask my in law to take care of him because I couldn't take care of him. And this time, the second time we've been apart, he started to get sicker and eventually he got some water in the brain, like an excess of water in the brain, and he died eventually. And this time that I was a part of him, I also had a disease. I had cancer, breast cancer. And thank God I was healed. I did radiotherapy, but after that, I got blind permanently. I don't have any sight left, but I didn't give up. I kept doing the dance, the clay sculptures, the beauty products, the biscuits. I also tried to participate in several conferences and events, especially with people with deafblind people. I'm always trying to do things. I also went to an exam to do a dance lesson. I was able to pass on other course, but I could I had to choose between the dance and the psychology course. So this year I chose to stay with Fernanda Bianchini in the dance lessons. Maybe next year I'll try the exam again. People say that I might be a good psychologist because I'm a very talkative person and I'm very active. And what I really want to do is to make people with disabilities to get out of their houses and have patience and keep fighting to get everywhere and do anything. And also people that don't have disability, because there are a lot of people that don't have any disability, but they are blind in a metaphoric way. So I want to show that to everyone, to the world, that everything I passed in my life, there are other things that I lived that I don't have enough time to tell. But eventually I will write a book with everything that happened in my life. A lot of things happen with my mom. It's a very sad story, but I will tell the story eventually when I have the opportunity. And what I'm interested in know is why does people have they're so different? Why the discrimination? Why everything? And nowadays, I think the world is very worried about the material part. And then I learned by studying the Bible and all the things. Not that one religion is better than the other and other people is better than, but what the main teaching of Jesus is to love the people next to you, God, and the people next to you. And that's it. I don't want to discuss a religion, but I want to tell everyone to how to love everyone because the world is having a lot of problems, a lot of sad things. I don't I don't even like to listen to the television because it's a lot of bad things happening. I want people to improve, to have good thoughts, to do good things to the other. Why I love to dance? Because it's a joy for me. Why do I like to make sculptures? Because that's also like a therapy for me. When I'm home, I also like to hear books and learn with the life experiences of other people and to show to the other person what a good way to do. Here I'm showing in the screen right now a sculpture. I've been doing that for several years, but since I love Virgin Mary, that's Virgin Mary the with the rosary in her hand. I pray every day with that, and I wanted to show to you and tell them about my life. I don't, I can't see as you know, but I started to pray with the rosary, and eventually I saw someone, but not with my physical side. I was like, well, I really wanted to talk to Virgin Mary even for a minute. Then I looked to my side and I saw her all in white. She took her veil, smiled, and that's it. It's a sight I had with Virgin Mary, and that was very important for me. I hope that my speech here will help and will mark every person here, especially people with disability. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing with us your story, life story. Very, very compelling. I believe that everyone listening must feel great emotions as we all do. Well, our third panel member, Russ Palmer, to tell his story with us.
You can tell where you are sitting, and yes.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm just going to look.
Am I lined up?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Just to make sure we're not here.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, this is Russ.
Your sign name?
My sign name is like this. I've changed my position to sitting on a chair, and I have a guitar in front of me. And I'm also wearing a big hat, because in a moment I will share with you why I'm wearing a hat. I'm going to talk about my musical perspective of how I feel and play music. I appreciate there are many deafblinds who enjoy feeling the rhythm to dance, music, and vibrations. But how do we feel those vibrations? And how can we benefit from listening to music, perhaps? Some of us may wear hearing aids. Some of us may wear cochlear implants. I would like to just share with you a couple of little gadgets that I use, which I found extremely useful. I have in front of me this funny looking half moon shaped speaker type system. Can you find that?
Yeah, speaker.
I wear this around my neck. And this is working in a sense with a tablet or an iPhone. And it has different connections. You can turn the power on, you can turn the volume, etc., up or down. So if I put that around my neck, like so, it means my hands are free. With my tablet or iPad, in this case, which looks a bit like this, I can have what we call like a playlist. I'm sure some of you have your musical playlist. And I can play different styles of music through my equipment. And sometimes, if I give that back to you, okay. When I'm playing with or practicing a new piece of music online, as I did during COVID, I had somebody in Finland and I was in the UK. And I asked my colleague, I'd like to learn how to play this piece of music. So we went through the chords and the words, and then I would learn stage by stage the words of the song, the chords of the song. It's a very slow process. In addition, I use another form of speaker, which is also extremely helpful. This is what we call a JBL type portable speaker. One of the advantages of this one is it had very good tactile buttons.
Yeah. Minus, play, plus.
Volume going down for minus, volume going up for increasing volume or stopping or changing to another song. And these are on the side of the unit. The speaker comes through the front here, which is on the flat part, the longest, biggest part, and you have a little hook where you can put this onto a door or somewhere that's more okay for you if you want to listen to music, or even talking books or TV programs.
So Russ, you were teaching a deaf person that you can have that on the table, and then you can feel under your arms and your legs.
And one addition to this, you can actually feel the vibration through your body by placing this JBL speaker onto your own body, so you can feel the vibrations even more. So both of these devices I find extremely useful for the different purposes. Yeah. I'll give those back to you.
If you put the neck thing again, I need to ask you something. So Russ, you are blind and using 2 cochlear implants.
Yeah.
On the neck thing, you have a little speakers there.
Yes, so 2 speakers actually come out where my 2 fingers are, which is on the front part of the unit.
Yeah. And
the sound is extremely good. This is called a Bose Soundware system. That's BOSE WARE Ware system.
Yeah. So may I ask that when you use that and the speaker is near your implant, so the sound quality is better?
Sound quality is better, and it avoids you having to wear connecting devices to your hearing aids or implants.
Yeah.
So you don't have any wires hanging down.
Yeah. So it means that when your hands are free, you can wash the dishes and you can dust and cleaning the house.
That's Rita's way of trying to get me innovative to do the domestics, yes. Anyway, coming back to musical perception.
You guys are muted.
We're muted.
You guys are muted all of a sudden, Russ.
Can you hear me now? It is on.
Can you take it off mute?
It's on. So, can you hear us? Nothing has happened here. Anybody could.
Could you please confirm if you can hear me?
Yep.
We can hear.
Yeah.
And see.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
So I'll start again.
Yes. Yeah. You can. Somebody didn't hear. But what we are continuing that one. Yeah.
Could they hear what I said before?
No. Yes, but the musical perception. Yeah.
So if you talk about musical perception, I have a guitar in front of me. This is my own personal guitar, which I use with my Loving Touch CD. It's what we call an acoustic guitar. I don't know if you can see, but it has a nice wooden natural finish. And the sound is very nice and deep. If I just play a chord, it rings beautifully.
So Ras, so if they are thinking about having an instrument, does the wood mean a lot? What kind of quality?
Yes. Some guitars have what we call a shiny, what we call a lacquer finish. And that can sometimes deaden the natural sounds of the guitar. Having a natural finish will sometimes give you a better vibration, what we call resonance. And you can feel the vibration through here and through the neck, right up to the head part. And sometimes if you are interested in knowing how guitar feels, if you have a possibility to have a nice musician who will let you touch the guitar, it may be a good idea to maybe touch the head part because the vibrations are very strong in this part. But you can also try here.
What is here?
On the bottom part of the guitar. But I find the vibration are much stronger here.
Where is here?
On the head part of the guitar.
Yeah. You say vibrations. Do you feel the vibration on your body when you are playing?
Yes, I do. Sometimes I have found when I had the changeover from hearing aids to copper implant, I was using the guitar as like a guide to keep me in pitch or keep in tune. I'm playing a chord now. La, la, la. So trying to find your pitch is very important. La. So at the same time, I'm using a hat. And the reason I'm using a hat is so I can hear my own voice. So it's actually deflecting the unwanted noise around me. And this can be very tricky when you're on stage. Now, why did I choose a guitar? Because I particularly like a certain style of music that you may have heard this. I'm 64, so I come from the 60s generation. Beatles and Simon and Garfunkel, things like that. And we were taught different sort of guitar, what we call guitar sort of methods, how to play a certain way. Sometimes it can be a very flowing sort of way. Like a waltz. Or it can be a very sort of like a country. Just like a boom, 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 which is more rhythmical. So there are different styles you can play. And it depends on the style of music. When I'm writing music, it depends on my way I want to express music. Sometimes I might write a sad song, or I might write a happy song. It just depends on my mood. And like my last CD, we wanted to have an instrumental, which I played with my colleague Juha, which I believe some of you may have met. when we were in Brazil back in 2015. And we did actually play one of the songs there, which was the first time we played it, A Loving Touch, which is a waltz. I could really do with you are here with me tonight. And then we'd be able to play it to you. But I enjoy singing, and I found that with the implants, I've been able to actually hear my voice much better than I did before. Yeah.
Ras, you said that you have Assistive syndrome, and your hearing has been going worse all your life.
Yeah.
So how does it affect to your music perception, if you remember, before using hearing aids and then the cochlear implants? What was the music perception for you then?
Well, I mean, I remember those days very well because I had a lot of problems when I was wearing hearing aids. I was not able to find my pitch level keeping in tune because the hearing aids were amplifying the sound in a different way to what they do with the implants. And when my hearing changed, it made it extremely difficult. And I can recall when I did a CD called Reflection, what I call BCI, before cochlear implant, where I recorded my voice. And it's so different to after I had the implant, which is called ACI. And that was back in 2004, I had the implant operation. And then in 2006, I started working on the tracks again. And there's a big difference. For example, on one particular song I did called You and I can remember something like this. Visually, it's like you and I walking happy together. Now I sort of, you and I walking happy together. You and I can just love last forever. So, and you can actually hear that part of it on my website if anybody's interested.
Ras, your implants, do you have 4 different channels?
Yes,
Sound
I do.
channel. Do you have the thing in your pocket?
You mean remote control?
Yes.
I call this my 007 gadget. It's basically like a flat panel, and it has controls which are tactile. I don't know if people can appreciate this. You have 4 programs, and each program is a bit like having different filter sounds. One program like now is for quiet sound. Number 2 is for background noise, where you want to take out the background noise. And 3 and 4 for music. One for listening to music, and the other one is for when I'm performing. And I can adjust the volume control, the microphone sensitivity control, etc. And when Rita's nagging me, I can also switch off from time to time. No. Anyway.
Okay, Ross, you have a couple of more minutes.
Okay,
left.
I'd like to just finish on the song called Deafblind Blues. Now, this was actually a song I actually performed, I think, in Brazil, and it's based on Deafblind Blues experience. It goes something like this. I'm a man that can't see, a man that can't hear, but this doesn't matter, 'cause I feel the blues, oh yeah. Singing the Deafblind Blues. Baby, I can do this, oh, Deafblind Blues. My body feels good, like a clock beating time. My heart's a thumping, steady time. Come on, baby, dance with me, let me feel you close to me. Believe me, darling, feel the Deafblind Blues. Time I feel you walking by, I want to hold you, so don't be shy. You know I could do this, deafblind blues. You know I could do this, sing the deafblind blues. Well, folks, that's the end of the musical performance. Thank you for listening.
And Russ, if they want to read more about your musical perception ideas and your songs, so go to your website.
Please do, and that's www.russpalmer.com. And I might just say congratulations to the other two deafblind colleagues. I find their stories absolutely wonderful and fascinating. So thank you for sharing them. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now the lady is coming back here.
Thank you so much. We had a great time. And actually, we had memorable speeches here. It was really quite a unique moment for all of us to hear these three stories. And now it's time for questions, should there be any. Yeah, we're going to look in the chat or wherever to see if there are questions. Got a few more minutes, it seems. Yeah, questions? Anyone? Questions can be to any of the participants. Just waiting to hear if there are any questions. We had wonderful comments. Just send any comments that you wish. And I'd like them here as mediator. Just the comments say how everyone thought it was very compelling, really lovely. All three stories, very admirable. Russ, there is a question, if you can hear me, about the exact names of the models of those two pieces of equipment.
Now you can talk. Just this way, JBL.
JBL?
Então,
aqui estamos.
JBL.
Yeah, JBL. Yeah.
And these are very reasonably priced.
Normal shops.
Normal shops. Nothing unusual. They come in different shapes and forms. Sometimes they're rounded. Sometimes they're square, like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Or longer or bigger, whichever is convenient size for you. I find this useful because it's portable.
Small.
And small. And when I use this in workshops as well. So.
Okay, and the other one?
This is might be a little bit tricky to get hold of now because
online.
Well, yes. I don't know if it's still available, but I've had this quite a few years, 5 years, I think.
Yeah. And I'm just going to look at it's Bose.
BOSE, then sound, SOUND, where, WARE, I think.
Yeah. I can write that to the chat.
Those, BOSE, but they may have different varieties.
Yeah.
Of this now.
Bose.
Most important is the speaker
sound.
And the controls, tactile control on the back.
That's now on the chat. Yeah. I wrote it. Yeah.
I think Rita's written it on the chat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. There is one question there,
É
but
que
I
assim,
don't.
é uma ou a outra. Porque as duas estão na mesma sala, então é uma ou a outra. Como a
Okay,
pergunta
we
é
are
pra Janine,
just
a gente
trying
faz a
to
troca. Mas ela tá aqui, se tiver, a gente troca de novo.
arrange all the questions. Just a second, please. Okay, so we had a question for Janine. And we want to know how much time did you take to be fluent in Libras since you were born? How much time do you need to get fluency in Brazilian Sign Language?
Então, eu nasci
So,
do cega,
Janine is saying, so I was born deaf-blind.
né? Eu nasci quando bebezinha. Depois, eu fui
Then
conseguir aprender Libras mais
I
ou
was
menos
able
com
to
4
learn
anos.
Libras with 4
3,
years
4
old,
anos, eu
3, 4
comecei a
years
aprender
old.
Libras.
I started to learn
Então,
Brazilian
com
Sign
4
Language.
anos, cada vez foi aprendendo
Then,
mais,
with 4
até
years
mais ou
old,
menos eu consegui
I
aprender
kept learning
100%
until
a língua de sinais.
I think eventually I got to learn everything,
Então, o tempo, mais ou
but
menos, até, né? Durou muito tempo até eu
I don't
conseguir
know
aprender
exactly, but
Libras.
it took some time for me to learn Libras.
Mais ou menos com 13 anos, mais ou menos
I
com
think
13 anos,
when I was 13 years old, that's when I got really fluent in Brazilian Sign Language. So about 10 years. Pia says, okay, thank you, Janine, for your answer. I have an open question. Each one, I don't know if Russ or Shirley or Janine can answer. About capacitism, the person wants to understand and the perspective of people that doesn't have any disability when they see a person with disability, they usually think, oh, poor thing, oh, it's a hard life to live. That's capacitism. But in this table today, we have 3 people that live perfectly. They study, they dance, they sing, they do everything. They produce music, they sing, they live the life they want to live. So the capacitism, this perspective that you are people, oh, I'm so sorry for you, you're deaf blind, and understanding that that's a kind of violence and oppression that people with disability suffer every day. What can we say? What do you guys have to say about that, about this capacitism? What can you say about this movement of saying so people understand that having disability is not being like, oh, poor thing. It's like other kind of way of living. What do you want to say about that? Russ, I think you can speak.
Want to speak?
Yes, now you are.
Yes, this is Russ here. Yes, that's a very understandable situation. And I've always been a bit stubborn. I'm sure my fellow colleagues are probably the same in some ways. But life is a challenge. But at the same time, you need to find new ways and new opportunities. There are many barriers that we have to go through. I've been through a lot myself. It hasn't been easy, but one tries not to give up. If one way doesn't work, we try another way. I can remember having my white cane. I was still working at the time, going to a newsagent where you have magazines on the shelves, putting the cane on my arm, picking up a magazine and started looking at it. And the people around me were thinking, this guy's fake, he can't be blind if he can read a newspaper. And like when you go on a train, you have a cane, you put it all up, and then you get something to read, People's perception of deafblindness can change so differently wherever you are. As far as I'm concerned, I say, well, if you want to stare, fine, but I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. We have to somehow put barriers up to not let it worry us. Like I say, we have to be stubborn. I don't know what it's like for the other people, but that's my experience.
Okay. Switch you.
Thank you, Russ, for your answer. And Janini and Shirley, do you want to say something too?
Sim, a Janine quer falar.
Yes, Janini wants to answer.
Então, a palavra capacitismo,
So the word capacitism,
quando eu era
for
criança,
instance, when I was a kid,
o
as a
subsídio
deafblind, I had to
não pode ser capacitista.
alphabetize myself, to
Não
be
pode estabelecer
alphabetized,
relação
and we can't have this kind of relationship,
É importante
this
a acessibilidade,
capacitism thought. It's
que
important
a
to
pessoa com deficiência
have
não
accessibility
tem
because
acesso
people with disability don't have the
à
access
acessibilidade.
to all the informations and to learning things if they don't have the accessible things. For instance, I can't drive a car. Other people with disability can't drive a car because they do need other kind of attention for parking or for a lot of things involved in driving a car, and not being able to do that because I'm deafblind. They need a lot of things that will get along with the city mobility, and people want to offer accessibility, have to be polite, have to be caring about people, but not thinking that they are not able to do things. BSS. Okay, thank you, Janine, for your answer. And now Shirley wants to say something? No? Okay. Shirley doesn't want to answer that now, right now. Okay. So I believe we can finish now. We can finish our table of this afternoon. I really want to thank everyone here watching us, but especially the three participants that shared their experiences, their life experiences, and brought to us a very interesting reflection for all of us, Raj, Janini, and Shirley. We also want to thank everyone that's with us so far, and then invite you to stay with us in the next tables we have today, and also follow us on our social media, Instagram, YouTube. Thank you, and